much, Therese. It's my absolute pleasure.
It's a pleasure to talk with you again. We talked with you many years ago in your portfolio as Minister of Culture.
Yes.
And we had a very interesting discussion, I remember that time. So it's a great pleasure to have you back this time as Ambassador, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How has that transition been for you, moving from a government minister to the role of ambassador, even though as Minister of Culture, you were pretty much an ambassador?
That is true. I have to say that I consider myself a servant of the people first and foremost, and I suppose that in both roles, I am delighted and honored to be representing my government and people in the first instance, primarily at home, but on occasions when I had to travel overseas. And in this instance, at home, on occasion, but now I'm fully based overseas. I consider it a signal honor that the government and people of St. Kitts and Nevis have invested in me the opportunity to take the name of St. Kitts and Nevis abroad, to represent the views of the government and the people, and to ensure that that all of our interests are monitored, pursued, and vigorously upheld here in the United States of America. How has it been? I would say that I enjoy my job. I enjoy being able to relate not only to other ambassadors, but to persons with whom I come into contact on a daily basis. I am also the permanent representative to the Organization of American States, and so there are 34 member states which hold membership currently there, and I enjoy being able to enunciate and articulate the views of my country and to stand up when needs be on the issues that we're passionate about.
And we know you can do that well. The transition from minister to ambassador, and especially coming into this arena of male domination, we have been fortunate in the Caribbean. We've had an influx, I would say, of female ambassadors in the last several years. For the most part, over the years, we've had maybe 2 at a time. We now have, what, 5 or 6?
We have 5 at the CARICOM level.
Yeah. How has that changed the dynamic in that arena that you're working?
I would say that our governments are coming to terms with the fact that women have an important role to play, not just in decision-making processes, but as representatives of society. We want to fulfill our duties in addition to in the home, in society, generally speaking. And if you ask me how that has transcended stereotypes and what does it mean for us here at the CARICOM level, I would say that the female ambassadors are doing an excellent job. I also want to bear out the point that in addition to the ambassadors, we have several alternates at the permanent missions to the Organization of American States who are females. And we have far more alternates than we do have ambassadors. So women are really playing a significant role at the leadership level in terms of representing our governments and people here at the CARICOM level. The women, though, do not want to, we don't want it to be felt as if we think we're doing this alone. Males and females in diplomacy, as in all other spheres, have a role to play in partnership in ensuring that the job gets done. We believe, though, that it is just as significant and just as important for a woman to be at the helm as it is for a man. If our societies are comprised, if we want to be generous and say 50% males, 50% females, then I believe that it should be fair and equitable for at least 50% of the ambassadors to be women. We're not yet at that stage, and so I can't say that I'm speaking personally, that I'm completely satisfied that we are fully fulfilling our representative roles, but we're getting someplace, and it is important to give credit where it's due, and we're making strides.
Well, I think it's important to know that CARICOM, or the Caribbean region, as a young, emerging region, so to speak, in this global sphere, has taken the position that they will try to be as equitable as possible. At least this is what I hear.
Right.
Whether it is actually being played out as quickly or as efficiently as we would hope may not be. But we can keep our fingers crossed, I'm
Well,
sure.
my take on that is that we commend CARICOM on several levels. Because it's not just that there are 5 female ambassadors who are representing CARICOM member states, but all of the ambassadors are there on merit. There has been no tokenism. It's one thing to simply, for the sake of equity, to name a female ambassador because the last time you named a male ambassador.
Right.
And it's something else when the person who is named, male or female, is there on merit, is capable to ably represent her country, and does so with distinction. And I believe in that regard, CARICOM has to be commended, because all of the member states, I believe, have every confidence that the females, just as the males that they have sent to represent CARICOM member states, are there and will do a good job being there. In other words, they deserve to be there.
The right people
and
for the right
I'm very pleased and proud when I hear my sisters at the Organization of American States articulate the positions of their countries. I'm proud. They make sense, they're strong about what they're saying, and they believe in what is coming out of their mouths. That is to be commended.
That is,
And I have to say it's the same thing for the males. The point I'm trying to make is that women are there because they have been selected based
They've
on
earned
merit.
it, yes.
That's right.
Right, there's no tokenism there.
That's right.
That is an important point to make. In terms of your job, what would you say are the pitfalls? I remember one previous ambassador wrote a book, having gone through the fire, so to speak,
Yes.
And having had to learn on the job.
Yes.
You are fortunate to have had someone before you, but I often wonder whether, as a region, we have in place a structure or a guidebook for ambassadors, because our ambassadors have to play many roles. We have our ambassadors have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
Which is not always the conventional ambassadorship, so to speak. So how have you been able to parlay what you have known before into what you have to do, and how much of that has been laid out for you?
I'm happy that you recognize that the work is one that runs a broad spectrum. In addition to the diplomatic duties, we also have administrative duties, and in the case of, I think, all of the CARICOM ambassadors except for one, we are at the same time ambassadors to the United States of America and permanent representatives to the Organization of American States. And you're called upon basically to be the face of your country every single time. And it's not that you don't know that you're going to be called upon to do it, but the times that we're living in demand that there are going to be situations every day that you could not have been prepared for. Situations that have to be addressed at the permanent council level when you speak on behalf of your country, and you don't often get to prepare even for what you're about to comment on. And so you are called upon to have a certain amount of savvy that you will speak eloquently, as you ought to, on behalf of your country, that you will not compromise your country or make commitments that your country cannot honor.
Right.
And so you have to be clear, you have to be articulate, you have to be informed, and you have also to bear in mind at the same time, and despite the personal views that you may hold, that you are speaking on behalf of your country.
Think on your feet most of the
That's
time.
right. I don't know that it is possible to prepare for everything. And I don't know that there's a school that can prepare you for that specifically. But if you ask me what are the difficulties in terms of preparing for a role like this that potentially you could have been prepared for, I would say that when you are serving in the most powerful nation on earth, you are likely to interact on a very regular basis with other diplomats and certainly other people of several different cultures. I believe it would be helpful for Caribbean diplomats and ministers of government, I may add, and senior public servants to have some interface with someone who can train in terms of interacting with different cultures. What are the protocols? What are the diplomatic protocols you are expected to observe? Because what works for one culture does not work, is a complete insult to another one. But so I believe at the very minimum, it would be helpful to have an appreciation of what you are required to do so as not to embarrass yourself and even more your country, because you can embarrass yourself, but you certainly don't want to embarrass your country. I also have to say that as an ambassador, you are called upon to appreciate such an array of issues that even some of them highlighted for your immediate attention, basically in training that says to you, these are the things you can't get wrong.
Right.
You can apologize about other things, but these things, I would say things like financial management, you really don't want to mess up at the helm of that. And when you're an ambassador, the buck stops with you, ultimately. How do you administer a staff that is, they're professionals, they're not clerical workers, some of them may be, but there are other professionals in the office with you. And you want to be able to relate so that the teamwork is efficient when you interface with others. You have to take a very positive approach in representing your country. And so these are some of the things I would say. Cultural sensitivities, being an excellent manager while holding down a diplomatic portfolio, and being able to appreciate that not everyone comes from your social perspective, that would help you to be a better ambassador.
Well, these are things that I'm sure you would pass on
Certainly.
as CARICOM grows and so matures, I suppose, in the diplomatic field, that these are things that can help. And it's always good I'm always interested to know what people learn from having to go through this, because I'm aware that there are some countries where there's a system.
Yes.
And I think most of the problems with the CARICOM region is that we didn't have a system, so to speak, for preparing.
Right. Well, the beautiful
ambassadors.
thing about CARICOM and about having, I would say, persons in positions who are unafraid to express themselves, and maybe I should say ourselves, is that I believe it is my duty as ambassador to my country to say where I think we can improve. And I believe all of the other ambassadors are just as passionate about ensuring that whatever pitfalls we face ourselves, that the persons who come after us would have less of a battle in that regard. And I believe that we're taking the message to our capitals that as we're trying, we're doing a good job, but better is always possible. And where better is possible, good is not good enough.
We're going to take a short break now, and we'll come back and talk some more with you about how CARICOM is doing generally as vis-a-vis the rest of the world in terms of women's issues, and how you see CARICOM progressing in that field. We'll be right back with more with Ambassador Jacinth Henry Martin, Ambassador of St. Kitts to the United States of America and Permanent Representative to the Organization of American States. We'll be right back.
You're watching Carib Nation Television.
To all those who give birth to, homes to, or just give thought to people adopted as infants, thanks for considering adoption.
When America wants to know what's happening in the Caribbean diaspora, there is one clear choice.
Hello, welcome to Carib Nation.
Both people inside and outside are
Very excited about today's program.
Looking at you, I can tell that you have traveled the journey.
One television organization brings America close to the people, stories, and events that affects Caribbean life. Get close, get answers, get Carib Nation.
Welcome back to Carib Nation. I'm Doris Dean. My guest today is Her Excellency Jacinth Henry Martin. She is the Ambassador of St. Kitts and Nevis to the United States of America and Permanent Representative to the Organization of American States. Ambassador, let's talk some more about women's issues. As we've said before, CARICOM has made some strides in terms of creating some equality between male and female in many positions. In your position as ambassador, you obviously interact, as you said, with people from all over the world. How do you see the Caribbean vis-a-vis the global picture in terms of where we are with the whole issue of women's issues, the equality of women in leadership roles, in the public service, and how they're treated generally?
Well, this is going to have to be my personal opinion. I believe, and I may have expressed this before, that women have to learn to take the bull by the horns and to step up front and assume leadership positions, doing it on our own. It is, for me, a waste of our time to sit back and to expect it to be done for us. If we want decisions to be made that favor us, we have to put ourselves in position, not just to help them to be made, but to make them ourselves. I believe that Caribbean women ought to see politics as an avenue for realizing the objectives that we set for ourselves. If we want to advance in the public service, then we have to be there to make the decisions that will ensure that that advancement is realized. If we want politicians to enact legislation that will favor us, then we have to be part of that process. And I believe that women more than men are out in the fields doing the campaigning, supporting candidates, and very often we're supporting male candidates. We need to become candidates ourselves. I think I have said this to you. Very often in the home, we have mastered the art when we want something to be done the way we want it to be done, of just doing it ourselves. And we have not been able to transcend the home base with that energy and that level of, I want it done, and if I want it done properly, I'm going to do it myself. In politics, in the public service, maybe even in diplomacy, if we put in the hands of others to do what we would like to have done, it will be done their way,
Of course.
ultimately.
Of course.
And so if what we want is to have outcomes that are achieved our way, then I believe we need to get in the position to do it our way. If you ask me, has there been success? I will say yes. I have served myself as a parliamentarian. I had male and female supporters, but a lot of the persons who encouraged me, who pushed for me to go, they were women. And sometimes when there's at least one female now who is elected who was a huge supporter in St. Kitts and Nevis, and she encouraged me. And very often when you ask women, well, why don't you do it? Oh, not me.
No, yeah.
Well, you know what? If we're not there to lead from the front, we may be leading, but we're going to be leading from the back.
Behind.
And that is not good
That's
enough.
the way. Well, that speaks, though, to more than stereotypes. A lot of it is culture. Culturally, we have been known as women to stay behind and support and help along. We manage the home because that is supposedly our domain.
Yes.
What is it going to take to change that thinking? Because women, I think, are more collaborative.
Yes.
When they are put in positions of power. They're not governed by the power and control that we find in the masculine-dominated or the male-dominated arenas. And so there is a great deal to be gained from having women in leadership positions, because that give and take and the collaboration is what is needed now, especially if we're going to balance the roles.
Well, additionally, women, I believe, are ultimately results-oriented. You know, everything has a process, but the process does not always have to be long and drawn out. And I think that women can see very often at the beginning, we know where we want the end to be. And so the result is the result is achieved by working from where we're starting out to where we want to get, and we want to do it, and we want to get it done. The other thing, you have just made a very clear point that women are collaborative, women have been supportive. It has been, for us, a cultural reality that what we like to do is to support. Women have to get accustomed to supporting other women. Because what you fail to say is that women have gotten accustomed to supporting men.
Yes, that's true.
So that process can continue. We just have to learn to be supportive of other women. That's the first point. And the second point I want to add to that is that it's not that we're not already supporting. And if you say it's part of our culture to do that, I want to make the case as a former Minister of Culture that culture evolves.
True.
We have to evolve it.
We have to make it
That's
move
right.
along.
We
Yes.
have to, in our own minds, and women have been good at that. We train our children not to accept a lot of things that when we were growing up, we were
That's
forced to accept
true.
because that is the way it was then.
Yes.
And we tell our children all along, I've told my kids something, well, that can't happen anymore.
That's right.
That was in the dark ages.
Times have changed.
We do not want to live what we have been teaching
Yeah.
our children. We just need to step into that
Into that,
moment
yeah.
and embrace it and work with it, because we already believe it.
We have to break that
We have
mold.
to act it now.
But we're hoping that the next generation will break that mold.
Well-
but we have to also lay the foundation and take the leadership.
And we have to be ever aware that our children are learning from us. If we seem
Yes.
very much,
Yes.
well, I'm not going to be the one to do it, it has to be somebody else, they absorb
absorb that.
that
That's
and
true.
they live with that. And
Very
so
true.
we're not sure that although the message is being transmitted, that it's being internalized and
Yeah,
lived.
we enculturate our
That-
children.
That's
Yes,
right. So
yes.
we have to show by example that when we want things to change, we have to change them ourselves.
Right, that is the most important thing. Now, just in the last minute or so, you mentioned your children,
Yes.
and how has your family been able to assimilate into this new role?
Right. I have 3 sons. They're big men now, but I have been doing this for quite a little while. My first son is now working for UNESCO. He's a big man now, but I am very proud to say that he epitomizes for me the belief that if you want something to get done, you have to do it. I'm proud of him because initially when he even applied, he was able to be accepted into the Young Professionals program on his own merit, and I was happy about that. And initially he had said, oh, you know what, I'm from a small country. But he got in there, he did it, and of 350 applications, he was one of 10 persons ultimately chosen. Very proud of that.
Yeah.
And my twin sons have just graduated from university in London. Very, very pleased. And they've chosen, you know, someone else may have said, they chose a degree in the business of commercial music. And a lot of my friends said, you know, where are they going with that? It's so artistic. But I said, you know what? I can't have them do my degree.
Right.
And as parents, we also have to embrace that our children have their own minds.
Right. And your husband?
He's fine. He's continuing his work. He has his own business, and he's very supportive.
What kind of business does he have?
He has a financial consultancy.
I see. Okay, so he's in his own world.
He is.
So to
Yes,
speak.
very much so.
So that's interesting. So you have a good balance.
Definitely.
Great. Well, thanks again for joining us. It's been a great pleasure talking with you.
Thank you very much.
Until next time, I'm Doris Dean. Thanks for watching Carib Nation.